Maybe he thought it was a Firehouse sub. And the way he fired that in there, he might have thought it was a Firehouse sub. But I could tell from the way it landed, it was definitely Subway. Because Quiznos don't jiggle like that. You know what I mean? I know it's Subway because Quiznos don't jiggle like that. They don't. And it's also too bad that the agent was there. I kind of wanted to see. He threw that hard. I want to see how it looked like that could have gone all the way to Jersey Mike's. You know what I mean? That could have gone to Jersey Mike's. And I could tell by the way he was running. Like when he ran away, I know that run. You know what I mean? When you order the wrong sub and nature hits, you know what I mean? You got to hit that Jimmy John's. Hey, shout out to all of the subscribers and the members here on the channel. Don't forget to like the video. My name is Reese Waters, and I'm troubled. One thing that I can say, since living under the watchful eye of the National Guard here in Washington, D.C., one thing I can give them credit for, thankfully, one savage criminal has been taken off the streets.
Fucking crowd, man. Like a fucking way! You did that? Motherfucker! Oh! 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 It's fucking gun! It's fucking gun! Fucking gun! He cooked him!
The whole sandwich, the bread and everything. Are we sure his anger wasn't sandwich based? Are we sure he wasn't just trying to return the sandwich? You know, because Subway would be like, eat fresh. And maybe he's like, this is not fresh. That was his way of saying that it was not fresh. And before that, it used to be what make it what you want. And he made it what he wanted. You know what I mean? This might be much ado about nothing. We got anything from before the sandwich was thrown?
Oh!
In our city.
They what?
You see these fascists right here in our
Fascists?
Fuck you! Fuck you, fascists! Shame! 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 Shame!
Y'all laughing, but that's the truth, though. We really talking real shit.
Shame!
Y'all need to do some background studying about the Federal Bar Association.
Yeah, that was pretty clear. That was pretty clear. Maybe he thought it was a Firehouse sub. And the way he fired that in there, he might have thought it was a Firehouse sub. But I could tell from the way it landed, it was definitely Subway. Because Quiznos don't jiggle like that. You know what I mean? I know it's Subway because Quiznos don't jiggle like that. They don't. And it's also too bad that the agent was there. I kind of wanted to see. He threw that hard. I want to see how it looked like that could have gone all the way to Jersey Mike's. You know what I mean? That could have gone to Jersey Mike's. And I could tell by the way he was running. Like when he ran away, I know that run. You know what I mean? When you order the wrong sub and nature hits, you know what I mean? You got to hit that Jimmy John's. You know what I mean? I know he was going for that Jimmy John's. Now Subway now has a question they got to answer while they sit here and do the math on where they come out on all of this and whether or not they will give any official statements. I can tell you who don't need to do the math. That's Arby's. Why she do Arby's like that? So what is your basis for saying she had Arby's in her pants? Because I know she likes to eat at Arby's and she likes to put it in her pants. You know that? Yeah, she puts Arby's in her pants. Yeah, she does. Okay, if I asked Marjorie Taylor Greene, she would tell you that she puts Arby's in her pants. It's my best belief she would tell you that, yes.
Arby's, we have the meat.
But unlike the Arby's situation, which devastated everybody, I haven't eaten since I recorded that video. I'm on an unofficial fast. Unlike the Arby's situation, the response to this online was a little different.
With his Subway sandwich, then taking off. He was ultimately arrested and is now charged.
What is the charge? Eating a meal? A succulent Chinese meal? Get your hand off my penis! Gentlemen, this is Democracy Manifest.
That guy who threw the sandwich at the Border Patrol officer in D.C. has more courage than all of the Democrats in Congress, all of the courts, all of the universities, and all of American institutions. Free that man. Give him the keys to the city. The sandwich is mightier than the sword.
It took at least 8 U.S. Trump regime troopers to bring down the notorious Subway sandwich slinger of D.C. after an extensive foot chase across the city. Hashtag free Subway slinger. Well, I mean, they had to do something. You know, if they're not chasing people for throwing Subway sandwiches or just making noise on the street, upsetting the audio as I'm recording my videos, then they approaching random people for the crime of smoking cigarettes. There y'all go again. I just talked about you.
You got your ID on you, chick?
No, I live right here.
Okay, cool.
It's a cigarette. Did y'all get a call or something about right here?
No, so we're doing checks, keeping everybody safe down here, right? Have you heard of the federal surge that Donald Trump's putting out?
No.
Right. You don't follow like
No.
Code 3, anything like that people are putting up? All right, so yeah, Trump's got all federal agencies kind of coming together, 7 days of going out, trying to stop the violent crime, all kind of stuff. So we're out here contacting people, talking to them, right? Quality of life offenses, smoking, drinking in public, right? Can't happen outside, right? Most people know that. Right? So we're contacting people, trying to advise them of the law so they learn. Right?
Now, on a serious note, as this tweet references, we had a person unalive, a Democratic state rep in Minnesota, and her husband shoot a second and his wife and have a list with 90 more, but the Justice Department couldn't be bothered. But they're on the case of the sandwich thrower. And not only that, as much of a farce as this was, they're actually trying to build on this and pound their chest about it. Here's Pam Bondi in a post I legitimately thought was a joke. If you touch any law enforcement officer, we will come after you. I just learned that this defendant worked at the Department of Justice. No longer. Not only is he fired, he's been charged with a felony. This is an example of the deep state we have been up against for 7 months as we work to refocus DOJ. You will not work in this administration while disrespecting our government and law enforcement. And as you can see right underneath that, hey, Pam Bondi, free the sandwich guy and release the Epstein files. Yeah, that whole distraction thing isn't really working now, isn't it? So you called him the deep state. That's the deep state? Is that because he got a foot long as opposed to a 6-inch? Would he have been deep state if he would have thrown a 6-inch? I'm just curious, what crimes constitute the deep state? And be very careful in your answer. Because I know you don't want to go with assaulting or disrespecting law enforcement. I know that ain't it. Lots of condemnation about an assault by a Subway sandwich from Republican hypocrites who let Trump pardon hundreds of cop beaters. Not even Fox News could defend this. And they could defend anything. They could defend the last season of Game of Thrones. They could defend the new War of the Worlds movie. But they couldn't defend this.
It is very rich to say we are going to charge the sandwich thrower with a felony. When I was there on January 6th, and all of those people that assaulted police officers got pardoned. Not just the nonviolent ones, not just the ones that went into the Capitol. Everyone, including the ones that went after police officers, got pardoned. So don't tell me we care that this administration cares about protecting police officers when they did not care about those on January 6th.
Respectfully, can we just stay?
But they got pardoned. No, those were police officers, Emily, and they got pardoned.
I want to talk about D.C. for a second.
But that was in D.C. That was in D.C. Those were D.C. police officers.
Now, here is what I call a full circle moment. So we have just seen the hypocrisy of them talking about assaulting law enforcement. We saw him dismissed from his position at the Department of Justice. If only there were folks at the Department of Justice that were involved with J6, that would really bring us full circle now, wouldn't it? How about this? Video shows Department of Justice official urging J6 rioters to, quote, unalive cops. Less than 5 years after urging rioters to unalive police at the Capitol, a former J6 defendant is working as a senior advisor for the Department of Justice, which has been dramatically remade under the second Trump administration. NPR has obtained police body cam footage from multiple angles of the former defendant and current administration official Jared Wise berating officers and calling them Yahtzee and Gestapo. NPR located the footage, which has not previously been published, in a review of thousands of court exhibits from J6 criminal cases obtained through legal action by a coalition of media organizations. NPR has also obtained the transcript of Wise's testimony in which he acknowledged that he repeatedly yelled "kill him" as officers were being attacked and tried to explain his actions. But just because Fox News couldn't defend this doesn't mean their people won't try. Here is Judge Jeanine. Matter of fact, I'm going to just go Jeanine Pirro. I feel like that Judge Jeanine is disrespectful to the judiciary, like the Supreme Court. Here she says, look at these 45 victims, all 19 and under, all unalive by gunfire in the last 18 months in D.C., and tell me that crime is down and we don't need an emergency focus on crimes of violence. To which the quote tweet, Pulaski County, Arkansas had 39 in the first 6 months of 2025 compared to 45 in D.C. over 18 months, which Jeanine Pirro describes as an emergency. I don't hear anyone saying the feds and the National Guard need to take over the Little Rock PD. Now that looks bad. That looks bad. That looks Jeanine Pirro getting out of a boat bad. That looks Jeanine Pirro getting out of a cab bad. So now I'm supposed to believe that the Trump administration, under the direction of Trump, is laser focused on crime.
Hi, it's Judge Jeanine. I am so grateful President Trump has sent the National Guard into D.C. to take over from those awful demon rats who have turned it into a crime-infested dump. As the U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, I can tell you this is overdue. I've had it with recidivist criminals being turned loose on the public over and over again. In fact, I just found out there is a 34-time convicted felon who preys on women and adolescents and used to pal around with Jeff Epstein sitting at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. Well, I'm on my way to investigate and prosecute and deport this illegal menacing our country. Wait a 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue? That's the White House.
And naturally, Jeanine Pirro would be perfect for the job.
out, Washington.
All right. Well, if anybody can try and defend this and provide fodder for mockery on my channel, it would be Jeanine Pirro. You got something on the sandwich thing? Okay.
Individual went up to one of the federal law enforcement officers and started jumping up and down, screaming at him, berating him, yelling at him. And then he took a Subway sandwich about this big and took it and threw it at the officer. He thought it was funny. Well, he doesn't think it's funny today because we charged him with a felony, assault on a police officer.
Worry not, DC. Judge Jeanine Pirro is on the case. It's a really good thing you guys caught him before the case went cold cut. I really hope you guys read him his marinara rights. I mean, why do you seem so angry, Jeanine? Was one of the stipulations of you getting this position staying sober? I'm personally relieved that this is the type of crimes that were being committed in Washington, D.C. in order to warrant sending the National Guard. If these are the types of crimes you were trying to clean up, instead of wasting taxpayer money, you could have just sent a bunch of stoners into D.C. Would have stopped those Subway sandwich vigilantes like that. And I'm really surprised that these are the kinds of crimes against police officers that you're trying to stop, considering the fact that President Trump basically pardoned every single January 6th offender who attacked police in Washington, D.C. Maybe the foot-long felon assumed that these are the types of things that are acceptable under this administration. Hopefully there's some lawyers out there willing to represent him pro baloney. I can't believe this is the state of our country right now. It's such a joke. It's such a joke. About this big. I can't. The acting was so bad that if I didn't know any better, you would think she was filming a commercial. And Judge Jeanine Pirro, being the ambassador of Subway, officially makes her the second worst face for Subway, right after Jared. I really hope you guys don't throw the menu at this guy, because to me, he sounds like a real hero. There's just so many puns. Anyways, bye. Unbelievable.
Is Judge Jeanine really an ambassador of Subway? Ambassador of Subway. We got Marshawn Lynch, Rob Gronkowski, Simone Biles. They are doing some mental gymnastics. Yeah, Simone Biles didn't leave them with nothing. They definitely doing some mental gymnastics. Yeah, the Trump administration barreling through this like Rob Gronkowski in the Super Bowl, or like Beast Mode or Beastquake from Marshawn Lynch. They don't pick them at random. Who do they have right now? Steph Curry. This is a crazy shot. This is a crazy shot. They trying to float this in DC. This is wild. Serena Williams. Didn't she just take that photo where she had lost all that weight? Was that from Subway? Have they tried to put that together? Now, shout out to Stella for pro baloney and throwing the menu at him. She talked about the acting, and one thing I can say, that acting was every bit as good as the self-righteousness we heard from Jeanine Pirro about the J6ers. You know, before she was in the administration tasked with backing and defending them.
Was there even a plan when you got in there, besides looking like a bunch of freaks, breaking windows, carrying off a podium, sitting at Nancy Pelosi's desk, leaving a love note with fingerprints behind, identifying yourselves with selfies, stealing, damaging property, trespassing, looting? 5 people are dead in your wake. A police officer, an Air Force veteran, not to mention countless injured, including a young police officer on video screaming as he's being crushed, blood coming out of his mouth.
So that was then, and this is now, where you're tasked with working in this administration that has projected violence all across the city, and need to protect law enforcement. That is quite a 180. It's the kind of turn that can make your head spin. You know, when you had one too many.
Out of time? That means he's had enough. Goodbye. Thank you. I want you to report on
But you said it's guns. You said it's guns on the street that's causing this problem. Are you concerned that the DOJ's funding cuts to gun violence prevention programs undermine the effort?
Stop it. We are putting all kinds of resources onto the street.
But what about the gun aspect of the gun violence?
Thanks.
Name one. Name one. Is resources code for officers? Is that what you mean by the resources that you're putting on the street, Janine? Trump collaborator and nominee for U.S. Attorney for D.C., Janine Pirro, abruptly ended in a press conference after facing real questions. She had been touting that a federal deployment of more than 850 led to just 23 arrests, most for minor offenses, in a city of over 702,000 people. And if you thought that nonsense was the worst we were going to get from Janine Pirro, well, you don't know her at all.
You just walked through the changes you'd like to see from the punitive aspects. What about preventative? Do you or the president plan to do anything to address the root causes of crime in D.C., such as truancy?
My job is to try to heal the victims and prosecute the criminal. Everybody else can deal with rehabilitating the individual. I honestly am not concerned about why they commit crimes. My concern is if they commit crimes. My concern is the victims of the crimes. That's my job as a U.S. attorney.
Well, how about the victims of the crimes that you could have prevented and chose not to because you want to sound tough and speak in sound bites? How about that? Huh? How about that? Notice the word prevention didn't even appear in that whole soliloquy. The only thing that we heard was rehabilitation, which is still approaching it from a mindset of a duality of good and bad and haves and have-nots, not acknowledging at all the factors that contribute to crime. Now, I would just like to quote myself when I initially reported on the DC takeover, where I asked if anybody had heard, when they're so concerned about the citizens of DC, whether anybody had heard of any kind of bootstraps they were throwing out. Anybody heard any kind of training or job programs, anything for the youth? She just asked about guns. They asked about truancy, investing in schools, anything at all? Anything at all? No.
Boy, ain't no way, boy.
She dunked on the very idea of taking preventative measures when it comes to this. So, as I said in my initial report all about this, what does that look like? I'm supposed to believe that you are really concerned about crime, but you want to take people's jobs away, take people's health care away. You want to raise the prices of goods. You want to eliminate any access they have to the American dream and then flood the streets with officers. What does that look like exactly? And if you weren't sufficiently convinced of what exactly that looks like, or what exactly the end goal might possibly be, because I understand that there are those among us that encourage this kind of intervention. If you had any question about it, leave it to Benny Johnson to quell all of your concerns. And yes, that Benny Johnson. In hundreds of videos since taken down by YouTube, right-wing influencers working for Tenet Media, a company the U.S. Department of Justice alleges was financed and guided by a state-backed Russian news network, showed interest in a highly specific set of topics, according to a Wired analysis. The content of these videos was described by prosecutors as consistent with Russia's aim of sowing political discord in the U.S. Among the areas covered, free speech, illegal immigrants, diversity in video games, supposed racism towards white people, and Elon Musk. Racism against white people, you say? Well, this should be good.
And if you are a proud patriot and you love this country and you wish for it to be reflected honorably to the peoples of Earth, then Washington, D.C. must be swept clean. I believe entire neighborhoods probably need to be emptied, need to be bulldozed. I believe that there are places that are so crime-ridden and so infested that you just need to, you're just going to have to crack down. D.C. is not safe, and I can tell you this as a matter of fact, it is one of the worst, most racist narco states and welfare states imaginable. In that neighborhood that I would walk every single day, racial epithets were screamed at us, rocks were thrown at us because we were white people. This city is a sunken place. It is an unsafe place. I mean, if that's what happens to me, imagine what happens to somebody who's visiting here from a foreign country.
There it is. There it is. For anybody questioning whether or not they are here for us, he just told you exactly what it is. And we have just seen the flooding with officers and the most minor of arrests, pressing people for smoking. We saw them trying to actually make a whole billboard and a stance built on the subway bandit, the hero, as Stella called him. So I can only imagine how they would characterize the DC experience with those 23 criminals running around the streets, flinging mayonnaise and mustard all over the place.
Started, and as always, we'll start with our new media seat, who is our podcast host today, Benny Johnson. Benny, why don't you kick us off, and thanks for being here.
Thank you, Caroline. As a D.C. resident of 15 years, I lived on Capitol Hill. I witnessed so many muggings and so much theft. I lost track. I was carjacked. I have murders on my Ring camera and mass shootings. I witnessed a woman on my block get held up at gunpoint for $20. And my house was set ablaze in an arson with my infant child inside. And so to any reporter that says and lies that D.C. is a safe place to live and work, let me just say this. Thank you. Thank you for making the city safe, because no parent should have to go through what my family went through, having the fire department rip open their door to save their infant child. And so thank you for your work on securing this city. My question to you is this. Nancy Pelosi has attacked the president for deploying the National Guard to the city, saying that it is to cover for his incompetence. Hillary Clinton has also attacked the president for securing the city of Washington, D.C.
What? That's crazy. No, we can't put that in the script. Because that's too unbelievable. We can't. We gotta change that. Make that happen to several different people over a long period of time, because nobody will possibly believe that. That is wild. That is wild. That you realize we are much safer now that they arrested that subway bandit. We are definitely much safer now. Two on the nose. Just two on. You said racism against white people. You say, yeah, that's a little too on the nose. And yes, we have already disproved the whole black on black crime part of that, bulldozing the neighborhoods, right? Yeah. One thing I do have to say, and shout out to the New Yorker, those Epstein files must be wild. I mean, really, they must be wild. Y'all doing a whole lot. I mean, a whole. You got Subway's board working overtime and weekends trying to deal with the fallout of you locking up the subway bandit after you done flooded the streets with officers to walk around and just approach people for apparently smoking or recording content. Because that's the only thing. That's all I'm seeing. If they just going to be walking the streets of D.C., at least send them to the Wizards trial. We should at least have some more talent on the floor. If we got all these able bodies in town. You know, I can be a ham sometimes. I can definitely be a ham sometimes. But you know, I try to just keep it at that and not just go over into turkey. Yeah, I don't want to be a turkey. But I am grateful to all y'all. Hey, shout out to all my subs. You guys really make this worthwhile. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe on your way out. And special shout out to those of you that have given me such warm feedback for the newsletter. That really means a lot because I know how hard Regina works on that. It's something we thought would add a lot of value to the channel. If you have any thoughts on additions or suggestions for the newsletter, you could hit me up at admin@reesewaters.com.
Okay, here it is. Check it out. I got it. Why don't we open up a take-in restaurant?
And if you haven't gotten a chance to check it out, you can over at patreon.com/ReesWaters. You can sign up for a free account and that will give you access to the monthly newsletter. There's also the weekly newsletter that is part of the offerings in deep water and troubled water.
If you don't want to play that way, don't play that way. Break.
Also a part of those offerings, merch discounts. Those will be coming soon and those can be accessed either on Patreon or membership right here on YouTube. And there's some new merch that's about to hit the website. Just stay tuned. That is reesewaters.com.
I got one more idea. Rent spoons. Yeah, see, we serve them soup for free. Rent them spoons.
Is that a racist of the week? I tell you, like, I catch 3 and it's always one roaming around, you know what I mean? They reproduce like bunnies.
Congratulations!
What is it with America and racism? They just can't give it up, like apple pie and baseball and second families. I'm gonna start a new account if y'all keep playing. No, I'm serious. I'm already stacking them. You get a racist of the week, you get a racist of the week, you get a racist of the week. I'm out here making it rain like it's Magic City. But for racists.